Welcome to A Mile Deep. And today I'm going a mile deep with the incredible Samantha Lake Crocker. And the reason we're going a mile deep is I am so excited. I'm getting the pleasure of working shoulder to shoulder with Sam as her coach as she creates something that when she brought this to me, this idea of what she's trying to create, and not trying to, you're actually creating it. It's not even trying to, and it's not even it's creating at the rate of speed. Is a business which is I actually really believe this is going to revolutionize the way that menopause is treated and understood in the workplace by men and women. And when Sam told me about this, I got so excited. So welcome to Mile Deep.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, I'm just really like this journey that you're on. I want to share it with people who are listening to this podcast, and I think that there needs to be so much awareness to what you're going into. And I think what I'd love to do on today's episode is really dig into your experience and story, and really, just for people to understand what brought you to create the business, and then share how you're going on about even the business name. She's Gone Mad is phenomenal. But what you're actually doing to bring this into fruition. So if you're listening to this is a business which is it's in its startup space, isn't it? It's literally it was an idea that came about how long ago?
I think it was 3 months ago.
3 months ago. And what Sam's already achieved in the space of 3 months is mind blowing. But I think it's more so is that it is so needed right now. So let's dive in and let's start going into your story. Like, tell the listeners who you are. Tell us a bit of your background, and we'll go into how you went mad. This is
Implications, babe, but on this particular one.
no. If you just start with because honestly, I think this where you started from would be a really great place to begin.
Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, my whole identity, I've always been a working mum. So I built my own business overseas. I lived overseas. I sold that business. I came back to the UK 10 years ago. I've always held quite, full-time, quite, commercial roles. It's been very target driven. And ultimately in the last 6 years, I've been on a board of a £600 million turnover business. I also was running a recruitment business, and I loved everything that I was doing. I didn't sort of 6 years on, I didn't think, oh no, it's time to leave. It felt like the right time for me based on some of the issues that I was going through. And sometimes I think you just have to dive in deep, like you say, go mile deep and really focus on what you want to do. After 6 years, I decided recently that actually I wanted to coach. I've invested quite a lot in myself in terms of the coaching journey. And that was born about really because of me going into the perimenopause and menopause. But I didn't recognize it at the time. So I guess I just started to feel quite diluted. So when I think back 5 years ago, maybe even longer, 10 years ago, I was a very big extrovert. I loved being around people. I think, pretty funny, pretty lively character. And as I started to go into the perimenopause, I just started to retreat into myself. I literally almost became a hermit. I didn't really need contact with my friends. I started to really just, especially with COVID, I think, you sort of work at home, you're isolated, and I felt quite comfortable with that. And then when we came out of COVID, I was then menopausal, and I felt so exposed. Really lonely in my job and very fraudulent from the perspective of I have to be, I'm an MD. I've got to be up there motivating, driving, focusing on winning new clients, servicing new clients, bringing new additions to the business, bringing on new service lines, and really focusing on that business, which is what 100% I did and I loved. But when I got home, it was awful. I mean, it was terrible. So I wasn't taking care of myself. I couldn't keep up. I was just exhausted. And I think when you're in that position of, I can't let other people down. I'm responsible for a team of people. I'm responsible to my CEOs for driving targets. And, I hope I didn't drop the ball. I feel that I didn't drop the ball, but inside it was quite, it was quite turmoil, actually. And I didn't even realize that I was going through this. It was actually my husband that kind of approached me one day and said, do you brave? Do you think you go?
Yeah, he's a brave man.
Really brave. And he sort of tapped on this door. We're in my office now. And he tapped on the door and came in, and he'd been on this sort of menopause champion course. So, and he invested a lot of time for his understanding, but bless him, more so my understanding could improve on this whole process, because I think women just bury their head in the sand. So he knocked on the door and came in with this little menopause champion fan. Well, you can imagine, I did go mad.
Yeah, what a guy! Just Sam, what a guy! Like, what a guy to be like that. I think that loads of women listening to this podcast are going to be like, "Oh my god, what a guy!" Like that is phenomenal. Like, and as a guy, I'm probably going, "What a guy!" Like that is gutsy, very courageous, right?
Yeah, very courageous. And I mean, and if you could see my reaction, I mean, literally, I told him, to shove the fan. Memento. So,
Yeah.
So that's when really it sort of it came to fruition, is that this can't be happening to me. Absolutely not. But then, as I explored it and as I did my research and started talking to other people, similar age group, and suddenly it all starts to come out that you're exhausted, you're this brain fog. I mean, some women have brain fog to the point where they think they've got onset dementia. So, and when you're standing up there doing a presentation or a meeting, and, the embarrassment of just,
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I get it. And I'm a dude, like, and it's when you get that moment where you can't recall a word, or when just that piece of information and it stops you in your tracks, it makes you feel ill-equipped sometimes. Yeah. I get it.
It was, and one of my colleagues actually said, we didn't interact too much during work, but we would participate in meetings maybe every other month or something like that. And she said to me one day, she said, "Oh, actually, you're a bit of an introvert, aren't you, Sam?" And I just said, "Yes." And I was thinking, I've never been called an introvert, really. And I realised it's just because I just wasn't putting myself forward anymore to participate in a group event or to sort of stand up and be heard. I really was reeling in my opinion on things, even though in my head I was thinking, "Oh, no, don't agree with that, don't agree with that, like that idea," but I wouldn't actually put myself out there anymore. And that's when I realised if I feel like this, someone who actually on the outside looks like, she's got it all, she's got the kids, the job, the home, the pets, everything, busy, busy, busy. We thrive on making ourselves busy, but we don't actually take care of ourselves. We take care of everyone else, but not ourselves. And I think that's when I realised, look, I can't keep going like this. I've worked, 30 years nonstop. This happened to me, the menopause happened to me and my family, actually, because it affects everyone around you. And I was really lucky in work. My CEOs were brilliant. It's not as though I didn't have the support. I had all the support I could possibly want, which somehow even highlighted the fact that if people don't have that support, I've got it at home, I've got it at work, what is going on for them? And that's when I went on this journey. And that's when she's gone mad. She's gone mad. And it's funny because when I say the name to some of my previous work colleagues, male, they go, "You can't call it that." I was like, "No, 100% I can." Yeah. Every female I've spoken to is like, "Yes."
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, I was like, so my background, early parts of my 20s, I found myself, I was a personal trainer, and then I found myself getting really, really interested in hormones and like the nervous system, and then obviously women's hormones, because I was training so many females, and because I had an interest, like I was like, oh, why aren't they losing weight? Why are they finding it so difficult? And being a guy, it was it was just interested. I really got really interested in it. And I used to sit in consultation rooms with women, and I'd ask them about their cycle and ask them about how they felt and all the cravings and stuff like that. And like I would be teaching, like I was a 23-year-old guy, teaching ladies who were 30, 35, 40, 50 about hormones. I was like, how do you not know this? Like this was like I was shocked at what I knew relative to
Yeah.
most women, like not even let alone men. Like, you know, we can talk about men in a minute, but I was like, how do you not understand these processes that are going on in your body and how to work with them? And it was sad because I sat in that room, like I said, you know, it's a consult room, and the amount of people that came in, they didn't understand the fundamentals of nutrition, they didn't understand their bodies, and when it came to something like hormones were just something that they would blame on feeling rubbish every single month, feeling cravings, feeling up and down emotionally, not being able to function, not being able to lose weight. And I just realized the status quo that there's no available information that's not confusing, readily available for so many women. And like, you know, we talk about men in the later part of the podcast, because I think what you're talking about is so important. So I love that you actually got that support, because I don't think, because I was that guy, I was that support network for so many professional women, and they'd come in, they'd talk to me, and it was almost like, oh, finally I'm speaking to someone who understands me or actually has some kind of information that's going to help me through this. So I think it's like, it's a starving crowd. Like there really isn't the support there. So you went through that experience, you were flying high, you went through that experience of understanding what it was about. What happened next?
What happened next is it takes time to I think, one, to recognize that this is now you. So I think the first thing was realizing that, okay, my confidence has gone. I've got these symptoms now. I've got two choices. I either sit in this state that I'm in now, which wasn't a particularly happy one, in any way, shape or form, not for me, not for anyone around me, or I take action and I go and explore hormone replacement therapy, HRT, which in the UK, I think it's something ridiculous. Like statistics wise, it's 14%, only 14% of women in the UK take HRT.
Wow.
So I went to explore this, and I mean, it's a funny story, not funny story. So we know about estrogen, we know about progesterone, but there is a female testosterone. But of course, as soon as you hear that word, and when the doctor said to me, well, you know, I think with your job and everything, you know, you could benefit from testosterone. And in my head, I was like, whoa, hold on. Calm down then. And but actually, you know, all of this combination of the hormones, it's a very quick response. Your body must be craving for that replacement. You know, your hormones naturally are decreasing or fluctuating. So, you know, no wonder all these symptoms come to fruition. You know, you can't sleep, you're having hot flushes, you feel like an idiot because you're losing your words. And then you replenish those hormones and suddenly, hold on a second, I'm feeling a bit more like me. And, you know, it takes a while. You have to get the balance right. You have to seek that help. And I think that's the thing. You have to seek out that medical expert help. But once you do that and the levels are back in your body and you'll feel replenished, suddenly you feel like the old you or the new version of you. You know, I turned 50 in February. And for me, that was like, oh my God, I'm going to be 50. That's, you know, that's horrendous. But actually what we should see is a privilege. It's a privilege to age. And if we can accept that, I think, and really, maybe we have to change our lives a bit. Maybe we have to behave in a certain way or be a certain way, but embrace the fact, you know, I've hit a milestone. Lucky me. Now I want to live my, sounds cliche, I want to live my best life now. And that's where She's Gone Mad came in. I want to explore this further with like-minded women, but I also want to help couples. I want to help men as well. I got the help from my husband. I mean, that's, you know,
Wow.
we should bring him on next time, Ben. And then also in the workplace, you know, you have a lot of managers who will be managing, like you were saying, you were 23. You've got managers managing people who are going through this, but actually don't really know too much about it, don't know how to help, and don't know how to signpost to get help. So I think that's the that's what I would like to focus on.
Yeah, I am. I remember actually, because like even when you just talking a little bit about the symptoms there, I remember sat explaining things like thyroid hormone to women, and like they were like, "Oh, I've never heard of thyroid hormone," and if you're sat in a boardroom and you're getting this hot flush, and you think it's just I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. It's like, am I ill? Am I, And you maybe you soaked your shirt and you're conscious, and that's going to eat into your confidence. You're going to be finding ways to describe the sweat on your back or under your arms, and it's like I remember women saying, I'm so conscious. I just feel like a shell of my former self."
Yeah.
And the other thing is like having, Poppy had Effie and Indy year apart from one another. And we were talking about this today as we were walking through the mall, actually. She has been on, is in terms of, she's been in fight or flight. She's been responsive, reactive to the kids for the last 2 years because she's, priority number one's the kids. She's like, as soon as they cry, as soon as anything, she's said, "Ben, you'll never understand that as a man." Like when the kids cry, she's on, and so she's been in her like the fight or flight branch of a nervous system so much more over the last 2 years. And she's been trying to build a business, and we've moved to Dubai, and it's like, I think so many women go through that, especially if they've had children as well. They've got a stressful job. They then have the push of having kids, and kids just literally trigger every part of your fight or flight response, especially as a woman and a man, but more so a woman, I would definitely say. And then on top of that, there's that concern and worry about competing with, I worked with a lot of barristers and lawyers in my 20s, and they were like, my career. I'm worried about my career. I'm going through all of this, and all the guys, and especially in the law world, all the guys don't have to put up with this. They just kind of go out the door every day. I've got the kids. I've got all this stuff with the house, and I'm trying to. It's almost like it's an unfair fight.
Yeah.
And then they go back into when the kids go to nursery, and they're like, then they start into this perimenopausal phase sometimes. And it's like, it's almost like a game of snakes and ladders. And there's so many snakes on that board. It feels like such a real challenge to get to, go up the board.
Yeah. 100%.
And so when you started looking at She's Gone Mad, what do you think was missing for you, or what do you think was there for you but not there for others as you started to get under the hood of the landscape of support for women going through menopause?
Yeah. I think it was, for me, as I've mentioned, I feel like I had support. So I had someone at home I could speak to who'd actually read far more information on this than myself. At work, I knew there was, the menopause group there. If I wanted to be part of a community there, I knew that was there. But I think because of, I was an MD, and I just felt, I don't think I can go into a group and talk about myself, because that is too exposing at that point. I didn't want to be that open at that time.
Yeah.
So I think when I was thinking about She's Gone Mad, it was more about real lived experience. So how can I help move someone through this phase in their life with a positive attitude? And that's why, and almost, I don't want to say humorous, but the name itself, She's Gone Mad, let's recognize it, because in some cases we need to laugh at ourselves a little bit more than we probably do. And let's, I think we can embrace it a little bit. This is a period of our lives that we can't avoid. So, yeah. With knowledge and action, you can change the end goal completely. And so that's what I wanted. That's the missing piece for me, is having it not in a light-hearted way, but something which is, a staggered process or a staged process. Let's start working on ourselves and have an end goal at the end looking for.
It's interesting actually when you were sharing that. I remember back to when we and Poppy had Indy. we didn't do much. I stood in the side, watched, and uh, passed the occasional bottle of water. But watching Poppy have our second child, and we're talking to the midwife, and I was talking to her about different births and stuff like that, and she said something really profound actually. She said a lot of women, when they come in for pregnancy, they behave like they're ill. They behave like they've got something wrong with them, and that's what her words were. They behave like they're ill. They're going to die. They're like the world's going to end. And she says one of the things that we're really keen on at the moment is just saying, hey, you're just having a baby. It's just you're having a baby. This is a natural, normal process. And I think it's really profound. And I think it's the same with menopause. It's going to be like you're going to go through the menopause as a woman, right? And I think what I love about this is because so many things as we age are almost pathologized. Like you're going to go through pains and aches and back problems, male or female. You're going to go through, like, guys have a decline in testosterone. They might lose their hair. They might grow big ears. It's like we don't get half the struggles that women get. I get that. But I think so many people want to pathologize themselves with something wrong with them when they go through a very normal and natural experience as they age. And I think what I love what you're doing is like not only just like it happens to me, it happens for me. It's a process which actually helps you, like you said, live your best life. And so what do you think needs to be in place for somebody to thrive through the menopause?
I think it is all about the communication and the knowledge. So I think you have to ensure that you are open to seeing first of all, see your doctor or see a medical professional to sort out HRT if that's the route you want to go on. If it's not the route you want to go on, you need to look at alternative therapies that can support you through that journey, because what we want to do really is reduce the symptoms, because if you reduce the symptoms, which you can do, you can just move through. So if that means looking after yourself a little bit more, which from my case, that's what I'm doing. I haven't reached the end goal yet, but I wanted to exercise more. I wanted to eat better. I wanted to look after myself, because actually for years I was an expat. I definitely drank too much, ate too much, partied too much. And now I've hit this 50. So I need to make sure that I'm looking after myself, because no one else is going to do that. And I think it's that ease of knowledge, ease of implementation. Let's not set goals which are ridiculous, and then really hold a mirror up to ourselves. And that could be in the workplace, it could be at home, and really understand, what can I get rid of? What can I delegate? What do I not need anymore? And what isn't serving me? So I think it's a time in our lives where we're old enough to make these decisions. We know what works for us and we know what doesn't. And we're kind of confident enough to make these decisions now and think, actually, I don't need that in my life anymore. Let's move forward. So I think it's being bold enough to it's really like digesting what your life is and then deciding what you want going forward.
Yeah.
Hard. It's really hard, actually.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, because exploring it from a body transformation background, I remember so many women would come in and they would be in a cycle. So like people buy transformations in cycles. They're leaving a cycle and they're starting a new one, whether it's like they're about to leave a marriage and they're about to start a new one, like they'll start a new relationship, whether it's they're about to leave a job and that people, especially body transformation, they buy in those spaces. And I remember so many women coming in and saying, yeah, I'm perimenopausal, I can onset of menopause symptoms coming on. And they just wanted the body fat gone. And actually, this is a piece of advice if you're listening in, is like one of the best things I saw for people's health, well-being, mindset, confidence, everything is the simplest thing is to lose body fat. It takes care of so many issues that you have going through later parts of your life. Not just menopause, this is for guys as well, is that getting rid of unnecessary amounts of weight, body fat, being over fat, there's carryovers to your psychology with feeling more confident. There's physiological components where you feel better. There's just even being able to regulate your own hormones better is so much easier when you haven't got 20 to 30 kilos of excess body fat. And I think that there is a natural season in your life where I think, I see it with my mum actually, my mum and my aunties. And my mum's 65 now, and I hope I haven't aged her. Gosh, she listens to this and I think what happened, especially for her and her sisters, they're all lean now. Like they're all shredded. They're all doing running. My mum runs about 10K a day through the mountains, and I think that so many women, like, they get that phase later on. But it's either they make a choice and say, do you know what, I'm going to go through the period of menopause and I'm going to do it consciously, I'm going to look after myself, or they become victim of it. And it's like added weight, added brain fog, added marital stress, divorce, all those things, losing my confidence in my role and not fulfilling. And I think it taints the tail end of their career, right?
100%. You can't pour from an empty cup. You've got to look after yourself first, in whatever way that looks like for you. But I think, from a health perspective, that's something I realized is weight gain for me was, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. And now I'm working on that, and I've successfully implemented some things for myself, and I feel so much better. And I'm still on the path, I still know where I want to go. So for me, it was the accept it. You've got to do something about it. So whatever that looks like. And for me, actually, my daughter and I did a 100K ultra marathon for charity. And then we've got this bug now, and it's kind of, well, she's done it twice. I mean, she must be. So she's done 2 of them now. I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to go down that route again, but I like a 50K. And it just gives you purpose. So, I live by the beach. I'm thinking it's not about me. It's about raising some cash for a charity. Or I live by the sea. Let's walk and enjoy the sea and train. And that's not, not everyone, that might not be everyone's bag. But I think just having that time on my own, fresh air, get some sun or rain on your face, whatever day it is, but get outside and move. And everything starts to fall into place. I think the problem with menopause is, you lose your confidence. You don't want to be outside. I'm not brushing everyone with the same brush, but you isolate yourself. That's what I did. I isolated myself. I put myself in this office, 12 hours a day, literally going mad at some points, and that's no good. We have to recognize it and get out. And I think even, I want to start weight training again. I used to do it years ago. And I think actually that's my next thing is shed some weight and then do the weight training and really try to sort of progress my body from that perspective as well.
Yeah. And then I think that's something that not enough women get the right support around. Like I own a gym in the UK, and I think I always used to joke that the biggest hurdle to go into the gym was in front of the front door. It was like all the phone call pressing. And I don't think, especially like left to our own devices, men and women, they go to the gym and you look around, you've got no confidence about being in a gym. You walk up and you look at the guy who's grunting in the corner, sweating away, and you don't want to stand next to him doing curls or resistance training. So most people default to the treadmill. Yes. or the cross trainer. And it's like, it's sad because the benefit of resistance training for someone's body when it comes to later life is just so big. It's got compound effect. Whereas I think so many people don't have the support in finding the right way to exercise and train, and like giving them that facility is just going to be absolutely enormous. Because actually, like, even being part of a community where, I resistance train, and you find people of the same age going to the gym. And I think that was what I noticed, that it became a norm, especially in my local community, for people of 35 to 65 to be in the gym lifting heavy weights. It became a cultural thing. Like, yeah, this is what we do now. And we actually started something called Get Moving for over 60s. So it was like we had a resistance training session for over 60s, and honestly, I've never seen such a powerful community. And it was like these people were coming in, and they were 65 onwards, 60, 65 onwards, and they just absolutely flourished with lifting weights at that age, because it's so important. So it's such a powerful thing to have community. I don't think that, like, I think for men at 30, they don't have a community to actually get the support they need. Like when you get to 30 as a guy, I think there is a small existential crisis for a man. And this is like what I'm trying to segue into. Let's talk about the men, because I think this is where you are doing something that I don't think other people are doing well or well enough. A big part of your She's Gone Mad is not She's Gone Mad focusing on purely women. You're talking about men. Tell us about that, Sam.
So I think this really came about because obviously for me it was the other way around. So my husband went and researched all of this stuff for me and for him, and it really resonated because everyone who I speak to, who I tell this story to, they can't believe that your husband did that for you. Yes, basically yes. And I think it's always, menopause is like, oh no, that's a woman's thing, but actually it affects men so much in terms of, relationships, full stop, their home life, the fact that the person that they love and have built this life with is literally changing in front of their eyes and they can't do anything right. And I've heard that so many times, literally from guys, I can't do anything right, Sam, so I don't know what I'm doing. So you can see there's just a parting between, a very happy marriage, and suddenly this midlife issue comes along and smacks them straight between the middle, and that separates them. And I think that's, for me, is really, really sad, because if you haven't got, if you stay silent, your wife or whatever is going to feel very isolated. If you open your mouth, the chances are you're going to say the wrong thing. So for me, it's just understanding, what the challenges are, and really, again, through the lived experience that we've got and we've had as a couple, as a family, it's utilizing that, and where can support be offered. And I think, again, it's the education piece. It's understanding that actually this is a phase and it doesn't have to be like this forever. Let's support each other to get through it together as a couple. But also in the workplace, how many men probably don't want to say to their 46-year-old colleague, are you all right there? What's going on with your work? And it's, again, it's, I wouldn't say it's a taboo subject, but it kind of is. It's a very personal subject. And I think if we can open the communication lines up in the workplace as well, it's a thing. We can't hide from it. So how can we support each other, male and female, to recognise the symptoms and also recognise what does good look like in the workplace? What can we do for you to make it easier, better, safer, a safer work environment for you, so you don't feel isolated, you don't feel like you're the only one going through this, because actually, a huge portion of the workforce could well be in a similar boat.
Yeah, I actually think the word safer is actually quite an interesting word, because as a guy, you make a comment that upsets a senior or colleague in the workplace. You feel so unsafe. You can't say anything. Yeah, maybe someone is being a little bit unfair in the way that they're showing up. Especially in today's climate, it's quite an unsafe environment to be able to say, like, even offering support. Actually, I was coaching a client yesterday, and it was really sad. It was a really sad moment. She said she's a senior VP of the company, and one of her her colleague went off sick, and he's like, I'm going off sick. And she wasn't allowed to contact him just to check he was okay. And because she got in touch with HR, said, can I message so-and-so to see if he's okay? And they said, absolutely not. You're not allowed to check in with him. And I was like, in this modern climate we've got is that we can't talk about being a human and do the human things to help our people that we spend most of our day with. We spend more time with our colleagues at work than we do with sometimes our spouse, and we can't be real empathetic humans. And it was sad. But I think for guys, I think sometimes it can be quite disempowering not to understand that, and especially for your partner, because I think the only reference point I've got in my home was watching Poppy go through pregnancy and the after effects of pregnancy. And I just I consulted with women who'd come in having a baby and they want to lose weight afterwards. And I saw them for an hour, maybe a month. And they'd give me a small insight to their life. But having watched Poppy talk about the experience with her body and the changes that she went through afterwards and how much that affected her, and I was like, wow, guys, we really don't have that. That was And I was like, wow, women go through so much. And it was just to see her go through that. And I was a bystander. I was there as a supportive partner. I did what I could to support her. But it was like, it was her journey. And there was so little that she could talk about. I felt like that she couldn't talk about it to anyone. And also, like, we were post COVID as well. So we were still in that isolation phase as well. So, yeah, really interesting. So she's gone mad. Is the company what's really interesting? So Sam and I, we were talking on a coaching call, and I just shared with you, and I said, just put it out there because I think this is going to get a wild reception because it's a starving market. Tell us what happened because you've actually launched it. It's out there. What happened?
Yeah, a couple of days ago, with your support and dare I say, a massive push, I just put it out there on my LinkedIn, and I just said, look, this is, a couple of months ago, I said, look, I'm leaving this job. I'm looking at going into coaching. I didn't know at that point that it would be in this space. So I put it out there, and the response, I think it's had X number of views. I've had such positive feedback from everyone. Just, love it, love it, love it. Tell us more. And, I've already had 2 conversations with male CEOs who are just keen to understand more about how they can help some of their workforce. So so far so good. And so what I want to do is actually run the program. It's called the 5G method. I want to run that with a small cohort of people to really
tell us about the method. Slow down. Actually, you brushed over the 5G method, right?
Okay,
tell us about that because that is genius. Tell us what is the 5G method.
So I think if we think about your mobile phone and think 5G is great, that's where I've got full data, full signal. I can talk to anyone and I can see anything. So I'm running at full capacity. And then think menopause is 3G. So it's glitchy. It's glitchy. You might not be able to get your words out or the other person to hear what you're saying. So that's kind of the where we're starting and where we're going. So 5G is basically getting real. So where are we today? And we explore what does your life look like today? And if we're going to go on a bit of a coaching journey, what is it that you want to change? What is it you want to be? And hopefully through the 5 stages, we will reach those goals. Well, I'm very certain we will because I'm kind of a few steps ahead of myself. So it's get real, get rid. And by that, I just mean what doesn't serve you in your life anymore. And let's use that time more wisely for you to get you to feel better, more confident, happier at home and feeling confident at work. That's the kind of the aim, and obviously healthier. Then it's get healthy. So again, that's exploring HRT, that's exploring actually anything that you want to explore. For me, I also went sort of down the holistic route as well. I wanted to know all about energy. I wanted to feel what else can I do with myself. So that's a whole sort of section on its own about the getting healthy side of things. And I don't just mean running 100K. Then it's getting clear. So the 4th one is, what actually do you want? What do you want to achieve next? I've already said, aging is a privilege. So let's use it. Let's use it to our advantage and everyone around us, and live hopefully what we can be as, our best selves without being cliche again. And then finally get connected. So I want to create a community, female, male. I want to create a community of She's Gone Mad. And that will be that should be a lively session, I'm sure. But with that in mind, I'm just sort of playing with the ideas of different webinars, different speakers, different people coming in. We've already explored this 40 odd symptoms of menopause. I'm sure there are many people who are very specific and experts in those fields. Let's get them in and possibly just talk openly about what can we do to alleviate some of those symptoms. And also some nice speakers, on some of our coaching calls. I know we've got a brilliant skin expert, for example. I think that would be brilliant. Just let's improve ourselves.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Honestly, I just think it's such a palette of offer to get people. Like, there's so many things there that like people need anyway. Like, regardless going through the menopause, like that process is so powerful to get getting a coach. Like, it's so amazing that like I work with professional men and women, and they get to like 45 and they've never had a coach. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be like, you've got all the success that you've got today without a coach, the difference is enormous. Like that is something that's such an exciting part. But the one of the things I like the most is get rid. Get rid of the stuff that just isn't helping you move forward in your life. Like there's so, but it's having the permission to do that, because sometimes it's someone else guiding you through, like getting rid of all the stuff that you don't need, don't want, it's not helpful anymore. Whether it's a story about yourself or whether it's a physical object that's sitting in your home, that is amazing.
It's so true. And I think I coach with you, and I've coached previously with other more holistic individuals or whatever it might, spiritual coaches, etc., all of which are, you always learn something, you always take something away. And one of the biggest things I've had is whatever has happened in your past, that we always bring it forward. We're carrying these bad memories or these, situations or experiences, and we carry them with us as we go forward. Well, why? So we know we've all had bad experiences in our life, but the more we talk about them and think, oh, poor me, then we're going into the menopause and it's even poorer me. So I think we have to learn to, let's stop and get rid. And that's, either remove it or at least identify it, remove it. And, if it's things and you no longer want to do in your day-to-day life, then delegate it or dump it.
Yeah. I love that moment in coaching where you see someone just totally just drop a story. It's like, get rid of a story. Like someone has been saying to myself, I'm just not that person. And then I could never do that. And then they just, do you know what? I'm just going to go and do it. Maybe like with the ultra marathon or just going out and putting something out there. I've had clients I'm not the sort of person that could put out an imperfect offer. I can do something imperfectly, and they go and do it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can actually be that person now."
In the conversations we have, where I'm like, "Oh, I haven't quite got that yet," and you're like, "Just do it." And so sometimes you just need that, and I think that's going to be part of the energy. And She's Gone Mad is let's just try and make things.
That's what gets your confidence back, because I think that's where you need somebody like you. And I think this is like, I put it on your LinkedIn, is that I think specifically someone like you. And your demeanor is going to be so perfect for someone in a place where they've lost their confidence. Because sometimes when I've been there, I lost a load of confidence going through my divorce, and I was like, I just needed someone to say, "Come on, man, you got this. Just do it." And they're like, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm actually going to go and do that." And sometimes we just need that person in our life to help us through that part. And this is why it's going to be incredible. So, I think, if someone's listened in so far, thank you so much for listening to us talk about this. Like, I'm really excited for you, Sam. Let's bring you back on the podcast and talk as the program develops. I think it'd be great for people to hear as it flourishes and develops, because you've already had interest.
Yes.
So what would be, if someone's struggling either personally or they've got a business that they would like to have a better support system for women and men going through the menopause, what would you say the best next step for them is?
I think if they're interested in this program is to reach out to me on LinkedIn, for example. I'm on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, whatever works. I think if someone recognizes some of these challenges, I think my first port of call would say, please go and have a discussion with your GP or a medical expert regarding HRT, or the options available to you, because that, I think, is the first step. And from there, everything else will progress.
Yeah, I want to be a bit more direct as well, because like Sam's just launched this, and you are doing your first tranche of the 5G method with some clients. And I think that if you're listening to this and you want really great support, you want a really great process, like I've watched you create the process, and it's a phenomenal process. Like I think that if anyone needs that kind of support, what you've talked about, get in touch sooner rather than later, because you've put it out. It's going to be the cheapest it's ever going to be, and it's going to have the most impact because you're trying things and pushing things together, and it'll be a great experience. So I think if you be urgent with this, don't sit on it, because I think so many people, especially with regards to their health, like my experience of people, when it comes to their health, it's like, oh, I'll wait. Oh, it's not that bad right now. Don't wait. Get support. Take action.
I think your health is the thing that will transform everything else. So, it's not just rose tinted glasses. If you look after yourself, the rest will fall into line in whatever way it's supposed to. That's what I believe anyway. So I think for me, I always put myself last, and it feels really selfish in the beginning, but now I'm sorry, it's me.
Yeah, I don't think there's any apologies necessary, right? I think even at watching like the women in my life, whether it's my partner, whether it's been my mum, whether it's been other women that I've worked with, I've always, when they've made that decision to put themselves first, it's a beautiful process to watch. It's like, yes, she's finally putting herself first, and that's where you see some magic happen in their life. And it's so lovely to watch that for so many people. I think, when you must have the same thing. It's like you watch someone, you can see that they've started to prioritize their needs, and their life just
Everything else
flourishes. Yeah.
transcends across everything else, including your relationships, whether that be, with your partner, with your kids, with your family, or work. And it's, you get you back. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reinvent a happier version of this menopausal lady.
Yeah. I've got quite a few listeners so if you're listening to this, by the way, team, if you've got a community, if you've got a workplace and you'd like to get in touch with Sam for her to talk at your workplace, the same thing. I think this is a message that needs to be spread, and feel free to reach out to me personally. I'll put all of Sam's links in the podcast description. Feel free to reach out to her directly. Tell her that you've heard. Tell her that you mentioned that you've heard on the podcast, and that would probably be the best next step for you if you've really got value from listening today. Thank you so much for coming on, Sam. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you.
And congratulations on going mad and creating a ripple effect that's going to have it's going to have a tidal wave of impact.
Well, I think your impact on being my coach has also been very, very beneficial for me. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Cheers, team.
Thank you. Take care.